What is going on, everyone? This is Ryan with Automatic Comics, and we have an update for Bendgate, Bananagate, whatever you want to call it. The issue with the CGC cases that have been having the inner wells bending on the inside, which is making the books look worse, potentially adding damage to books, all kinds of bad things going on. And the update, not great. So I imagine that people in general are not going to be real pleased with this. I know this doesn't get me excited about submitting books. We'll go over this update. We'll talk about it a little bit. And if you're not familiar with what's going on, we'll recap this whole situation. But let's get into this. All right, so before we get started, please remember to hit that like button and hit the subscribe button if you'd like to see more content like this. So if you are on YouTube in any way or Instagram in any way with respect to comics, you have probably heard about CGC, Bananagate, or Bendgate, whatever you want to call it. There have been a number of channels that have covered this. I made a video maybe 3 weeks ago, something like that, about it, where it was identified with some submissions that people started getting back in around May, that comics that were coming back from CGC, the inner well that's inside the hard case. You have this hard plastic case that's on the outside, and then on the inside, you have like this second piece of plastic that the comic is sealed inside of. That second piece of plastic was bending inside the case. And so where I originally saw this was on this Facebook post that's here. And so this was this post that was done back in July. It had there was a forum that had started on there was a post that had started on the CGC forums back in May, but I wasn't aware about it until this July post, where a person got back a CGC 9.8 and they saw that this book had a bend in it. They also had some other books that they got back that were also, or I think some other posters in the comments had gotten books back that had similar problems. And this was the one of the pictures that I showed, where you can really see where this is at least according to the user, we can't see the the top of it, but I don't know why the person would lie. So according to the user, this is a 9.8. This is graded a 9.8, and you can see how the book has basically flexed inside the case, which then accentuates the stress at these points, and then makes the book obviously look worse in the light, because now you have light catching these bends in the paper, potentially undoing pressing that's been done to it, all this kind of stuff. So lots of not good things with this. And we've been kind of getting some responses from CGC where they're, like, we're looking into it, that kind of thing, but largely non-committal on it. And so we finally got a more detailed response passed through CGC Mike on the CGC forums from CGC. And so I first heard about this, just to make sure you go check him out, from James Mack, or MJ Comics. He posted a reel that has a little post here from CGC, or from CGC Mike. And then we can actually read it over here. So this is the post, and it says, "We have seen reports that some of the soft plastic wells used inside of the CGC holder exhibit a curve when viewed from the side. After learning of this, we conducted an extensive review and found that the smallest well size, which is used for the thinnest comic books, is more pliable than the other wells, and in some cases will exhibit a slight curve. Importantly, this curve does not cause any damage to the comic book." I guarantee people disagree with that one. "And it does not affect the grade in any way." Also, something I am sure that people disagree with. "The angle of the bend required to create a stress line is simply cannot be done within a CGC holder. In addition, very high-grade comic books can still exhibit minimal stress lines according to CGC's official grading standards. We do not consider this slight curve to be a mechanical error that requires reholdering." Also a big issue with that statement right there.
Disappointed!
Still, we are always listening and want to serve our customers the best way we can. We have found that our next largest well size does not exhibit this slight curve, and have started to use that well in lieu of our smallest size. We appreciate all the feedback from our community, and we are grateful to be the hobby's first choice for grading for nearly 25 years. They're doing their best to to fall out of that slot, it seems. Many of us are collectors too, and we deeply care about the services that we provide. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, blah 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 blah. So, I am not a huge fan of that answer. Basically, to me, with that, I mean, it feels like this is so that they don't have to handle any of, any reholderings. That's really what this is saying. It's like, if you see this, tough luck. If you want a different case, if for whatever reason it sounds like they're maybe changing, using a larger inner well size. If you want that, I guess you have to resubmit and pay again. I'm sure that makes people happy. So, not a great response. I mean, I know I saw the video from Gem Mint with him and his wife. They were talking about this and basically saying, they're like, man, it seems like CGC is just trying to hurt themselves as much as possible, especially right before PSA is going to be coming out, as a big potential competitor. And I don't understand it. I mean, sometimes accepting responsibility and saying like, this is the problem, we're fixing it, we're going to cover it, is the best, I feel like is the best way to go. This is, I mean, I'm not convinced that this addresses the issue, that actually solved the issue. I mean, we'll see, but the fact of the matter is, when I did my prior video, one of the books that I showed was a Golden Age book. And those Golden Age books, I'm sure, are not using the smallest inner well size. And that one had that problem. So I am not convinced that this was limited just to the smaller well size. Now, there was an interesting video that was tagged in this forums. And I mean, sometimes I get people that come after me because they say I don't give them credit from what's in the forums and stuff. This post, how many pages is this thing? This post is now 73 pages long. No, I have not read all 73 pages. I'm not interested in reading all 73 pages. You get the general gist of what's going on, right at the beginning of this thing. And then it's just, the general conversation around it. But there was a good video that was tagged in here. So make sure you go. I want to just advertise that one a bit to tell people to go check this one out. It's this video here from Doghouse Comics, where he goes over a number of books and talks about some of the things that have been talked about, I'm guessing, in the forums, where some people have said that it seems like some of the more recent books that have been graded that are having these problems don't have, if you're not familiar, it gets into the details a little bit, but inside the CGC wells, sometimes they add this additional piece of plastic in there to kind of like seat the comic so it doesn't shift around. And I guess it seems like that hadn't been used in, I don't know if it's all of them, but a lot of the ones that were exhibiting this big curve. And he said he noticed that they're starting to use those on on these books that he got back. And while it's not preventing the curve, it is reducing it. But he did still show, a book that it had a spine tick that he had pressed out, and now it's pronounced again, even with that there. So I don't know. It does to me. I mean, maybe he still have the smaller well. I don't know, but I don't know this. I'm not a fan of this response. I think it feels very corporate, like this doesn't feel like something where it's, in the best interest of the, collectors and comics and all of that. I mean, especially because, like I've said, one of my big issues here is, to me, like, one of the big things with CGC Comics is presentation. It's the presentability of it. That's something I do really like about having them in CGC cases. I just like them in the case more. And no, I don't just want to put it in a plastic, holder. Like, I like it in the CGC case, the way it looks, more than just on its own. And this takes away from the visual appeal of the book if it's showing those, like, that light reflecting off bends on the interior of the comic. So, I mean, my takeaway from this is I'm still waiting. I'm not going to send anything in. Still, I don't trust that response. I mean, I'm sure there's other people that are going to continue to send stuff in. We'll wait and see if it's, if they're still seeing issues or not, if there is a big change based on, using a larger well, maybe starting to use those those additional plastic little holders that go inside, even though I know a lot of us don't really like those just because of the visual appeal, because what it often does is it makes it so the book isn't centered inside the case. I mean, so the visual appeal there is like, now you get these, they put these like little things, these, those, I think in the video, he called them wedges, whatever you want to call them, but they basically shift the book to the, like the right side or the left side of the case. And then it just looks kind of weird inside the case. It's not centered. So there's other issues there with presentability of having to use those too, but man, like I don't, not a fan of that response. So I guess wait and see. Now, one other thing I did want to point out that I have thought was absolutely hilarious. And I know Mickey over at Swagglehouse Comics, he made a video about this. Man, CBCS was on the ball with this banana gate. I think this is why we're calling it, like, you call it banana gate now. They made a couple videos about this, where the first one where they basically took a banana and pressed it inside one of their cases. I mean, I was dying when I saw this. I was just cracking up. And just the attention to detail, like it was like Yellow Pages, Banana Man #1, like all that kind of stuff. It was just amazing. And then they released another one like a week later. And it's, it says, 1 week later, and they're still, talking about the banana. I mean, I thought this was fantastic kind of like advertising. I thought it was great. So I mean, if you haven't seen that, I definitely recommend going and checking it out, because I was just dying laughing, watching those videos. I probably watched this first one like 4 or 5 times, but I mean, that's the update. Not great, in my opinion, not what you'd want to see. And I'm sure there's going to be a flood of comments afterwards, about that, because it doesn't address the issue to me. Now we'll see, but I don't see it. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit that like button, subscribe button, notification bell, and I will see you on the next one.